Alex stepped carefully onto the raised platform, feeling the hard metal beneath his boots. He looked around and took a slow breath. The arena stretched far and wide, a massive open space with cliffs, tunnels, and dense patches of alien vegetation. From above, the sun, or whatever star lit this part of the academy, shone down, casting long shadows across the ground. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sharper, like the scent of metal mixed with strange flowers. All around him, thousands of eyes watched. Not human eyes, of course. Some had 4 pupils that could move independently. Others glowed faintly in shades of blue or green. Some creatures had no visible eyes at all, instead relying on subtle vibrations in the air to sense everything. They whispered in languages Alex could not understand, their voices clicking, hissing, or vibrating in ways that made him shiver slightly. He ignored them. Alex had been through worse on his homeworld. A Deathworlder's life was never easy, and he had learned early how to stay calm when surrounded by things far larger, faster, or more dangerous than himself. He had grown up climbing cliffs that crumbled underfoot, crossing forests that could swallow a man whole, and hunting in storms that could tear the skin from a human. Nothing here was new, only different. A group of spectators near the front leaned over the barrier, watching him closely. Zara, a tall alien with translucent wings folded neatly behind her back, whispered to her companion Finn, whose rough, scaled skin glimmered faintly in the light. "Do you really think a human can survive this?" she asked. Her voice was soft but carried enough weight that Alex could hear her, though he pretended not to. Finn shook his head slowly. "Not a chance," he said. "Humans are weak. They can't handle this level of danger. The Predator assignment is fatal to anyone without advanced powers or armor. Look at him, just a human boy with a few basic tools." Alex smiled faintly under his hood. Weakness was a word he had grown used to hearing. On his homeworld, everyone thought humans were fragile. They had underestimated him before, and every time he had proved them wrong. He had no weapons that could blast through scales or tear apart exoskeletons, but he had something they did not: patience, observation, and the ability to adapt. The Academy's bell rang suddenly, a deep, resonant sound that echoed across the arena. Alex felt it in his chest. It was the signal that the Predator assignment was about to begin. Students of every species stirred. Some flexed claws or wings. Others hummed low, vibrating with energy, readying themselves for what was to come. Alex did not move immediately. He took a few more careful steps, examining the terrain. Rocks jutted from the ground at sharp angles. A small stream of water cut across one side of the arena. Dense shrubs grew in clusters, their leaves reflecting colors he did not recognize. He noted every detail, every potential hiding spot, every obstacle. The predator they would face was known to be cunning, fast, and nearly impossible to outsmart. Most students did not even survive long enough to learn its patterns. Nearby, Kira, a young alien with a slender body covered in shimmering scales, nudged a classmate. "Look at him," she said. "He isn't panicking at all. He's calm. That's strange. Humans shouldn't have this kind of patience." "Patience won't save him," her companion muttered. "He doesn't even have armor like the others. He can't survive a direct hit. He's going to die." Alex ignored the voices. He had learned long ago that fear and doubt were weapons the mind could create for itself. If he allowed the whispers to disturb him, he would be at a disadvantage before the assignment even began. He crouched slightly, brushing a hand over the smooth metal of the platform. He could feel vibrations in the ground, subtle shifts that suggested tunnels beneath. Even the platform itself seemed alive, responding to the energy of the creatures around it. He studied the other students. Some were clearly preparing to rely on power. Massive arms, telekinetic fields, energy weapons, natural venom, they had tools designed to overwhelm the predator in seconds. Most of them were confident, too confident, in fact. Confidence could be dangerous. Overconfidence could be fatal. Alex had learned that in the forests of his homeworld, where predators stalked silently and waited for the slightest mistake, a single misstep could mean death. He had survived because he watched, he adapted, and he struck only when the moment was perfect. That strategy had kept him alive for years in conditions far harsher than this. The sound of wings flapping drew his attention. Several airborne students hovered above, scanning for movement below. Alex noted their positions. Height was an advantage, but it also made them visible and vulnerable. A trap placed in the right location could mislead them completely. He made mental notes as he circled the arena in his mind, imagining different scenarios, different paths. Zara's voice came again, low and incredulous. "He's not running. He's not hiding. He's just watching." Finn snorted. He's going to regret that. The predator doesn't wait. It hunts, adapts, and kills faster than he can think. Alex ignored them. His focus was on the arena itself, not the whispers. He noticed a narrow cliff path that looked weak, likely to crumble if too much weight was applied. That could serve as a diversion. A cluster of tall, thorny bushes could conceal movement. The water stream could mask sound if crossed carefully. Every detail mattered. Every small element could be turned to advantage. He remembered the lessons from home. Hunt smart, survive longer than the prey expects, and always anticipate the unexpected. That mindset had saved him more times than he could count. Here, in this alien arena, it would serve him just as well. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly, a reminder that the predator would not wait. Alex adjusted his stance, steadying himself. His heart beat steadily, not fast. He could feel tension in the air, in the whispers of the alien crowd, in the subtle vibrations of the platform. Everything around him was alive, and he had learned to listen. He glanced again at Zara and Finn. They were whispering, pointing, shaking their heads. But Alex did not feel anger or fear. He felt anticipation. The thrill of a challenge, the excitement of facing the impossible. That was human nature, or at least, the nature of those raised in worlds where every day was a test of survival. The bell rang again, louder this time. A ripple ran through the alien crowd. Students tightened grips on claws, hooves, or energy weapons. Some muttered strange chants, calling on instincts older than memory. Alex adjusted his hood slightly, pulled a small notebook from his pocket and flipped it open. There were sketches of the terrain, small notes about traps he could set, and reminders about predator behavior. Nothing fancy, nothing high-tech. Just observation, planning, and instinct. "Look at that," Kira whispered to a friend. "He's preparing. But with what? Nothing but paper and a few tools. He doesn't even have armor like the others." Finn's scales bristled. "He's insane or he's lucky. Probably both." Alex ignored them. He focused on the arena, the paths, the hiding spots, and the predator he would soon face. His mind ran through possible scenarios: sudden attacks, ambush points, misdirection. Alex entered the briefing room quietly, the metal floor echoing faintly under his boots. The room was large, circular, with walls that glimmered faintly like liquid glass. Holographic maps floated in the air, showing the arena in all its deadly detail. Alien students milled around, comparing weapons, boasting loudly, and testing strange devices. Some made displays of power, sending sparks or ripples of energy across the room. Lily, with her long green tendrils, flexed them casually as she examined a series of sharp blades that shimmered with an alien energy. "This predator won't know what hit it," she said, a grin stretching across her angular face. She swung one of the blades lightly, making it hum. Tom, tall and bulky with scales that reflected the lights in the room, laughed. "It won't matter. Even if it adapts, we can crush it with sheer force." He flexed his massive arms, which looked capable of tearing through stone. Around him, other aliens nodded, impressed by his size and strength. Kira, small and quick, twirled in the air, hovering just above the ground. Her fingers sparkled as she activated a series of glowing energy threads that seemed ready to bind or strike at a moment's notice. "Brains alone won't be enough," she said to Lily and Tom. "You need speed, agility, and power together." Alex, by contrast, carried only a few simple items in a small bag. A basic knife, a length of strong cord, and a notebook. He didn't need flashy weapons. He didn't need glowing threads or massive strength. What he carried could be made from almost anything, anywhere, and yet it could be deadly in the right hands. He found a quiet corner and set his bag down. Opening his notebook, he sketched small diagrams of the arena. Paths, shadows, places the predator might hide, areas where he could trap or mislead it. He scribbled notes about predator behavior he had studied from the Academy records. Every detail mattered, from the pattern of rocks to the way the wind moved through the tunnels. Finn, hovering nearby with his scaled skin catching the light, glanced at Alex and snorted. "Primitive," he muttered under his breath. "The human thinks he can survive with that?" Alex looked up briefly, his lips curving into a faint smile. Sometimes brains mattered more than brawn. He had survived on his homeworld where strength and power alone often led to failure. On a death world, a human could not rely on brute force. Observation, planning, and cleverness were survival tools just as sharp as claws or energy weapons. Around the room, the aliens continued their preparations. Some practiced attack sequences, swinging blades or firing energy bursts at holographic targets. Others tested protective fields, bouncing small metal spheres off them to see how well they would hold. The noise of the room was almost constant, a mixture of humming, clicking, and the occasional shrill cry of frustration when something failed. Alex studied it all silently. He didn't need to show off. He didn't need anyone to notice him. What mattered was understanding the predator and the arena, and finding a way to survive a challenge that no one had passed before. Lily glanced over at him, her tendrils twitching. "He isn't even touching those holograms," she said to Kira. "Does he even know what he's doing?" Kira shrugged, a faint smirk on her face. "Maybe he's smart enough to know that strength doesn't always win. But I doubt it will help. This predator is designed to kill anything it touches." Tom snorted. "We'll see about that. When it senses fear or weakness, it attacks. And humans are full of fear. Just look at him, he's so small." Alex ignored their whispers. He didn't need their approval and he didn't need their warnings. Fear was a choice and he had long ago learned how to control it. Every situation, no matter how dangerous, was a puzzle. And he loved puzzles. He pulled out a small stick and began to sketch the terrain again. He noted where he could hide, where he could set traps, and which paths might be safest. The predator was fast, smart, and adaptive. It could change strategies mid-hunt. That meant he couldn't fight it directly. He had to be unpredictable, creative, and ready to improvise. As he worked, he remembered the lessons from home. The forests of his world were full of predators far deadlier than this one, creatures that could leap, crush, or poison within seconds. Surviving had meant thinking faster than the hunter, staying calm when every instinct screamed to run, and using every resource the world provided. Stones, sticks, vines, or even shadows could be tools. Every small advantage counted. Finn moved closer, still observing, his tail flicking in irritation. "Do you really think a few sticks and a notebook will help you?" he asked, his voice sharper now. "This is the predator assignment. It doesn't matter if you plan. It kills." Alex didn't answer. Instead, he continued sketching. He didn't need to argue. Results spoke louder than words. And soon the arena would show everyone who could survive, and who would fail. The instructors entered the room, their tall forms moving with slow, deliberate grace. They were enormous, with faces that were hard to read, covered in plates of chitin or scales. Their eyes seemed to look through everything, weighing every student silently. The room grew quieter. Even the loudest aliens seemed to hold their breath, as if simply being watched was dangerous. One of the instructors spoke in a low, resonant voice that made the walls vibrate slightly. "This year's Predator assignment is designed to challenge all limits. Only those who can think, adapt, and survive will pass. All others will fail. Observation and strategy are key, but the Predator is intelligent. It adapts. It learns." Alex listened carefully, noting every detail. Some students whispered nervously. Others flexed or adjusted weapons, confident they could rely on power. He didn't rush. Patience was important. He had to understand, to prepare mentally before stepping into the arena. He noticed that some aliens had overconfidence written on their faces. They believed in the strength of their claws, their energy, their telepathy. That confidence could blind them to danger. Overconfidence was a trap, one humans were taught to exploit on Deathworlds. Small mistakes could become fatal. He would watch, learn, and strike only when the opportunity was perfect. Hours passed as the room buzzed with activity. Alex continued his sketches, taking note of every detail he could see. He observed the patterns in which other students moved, the angles of their attacks, the weaknesses they ignored. Even their strengths could be used against them. Every observation was data, and data was power. Lily approached, curiosity in her sharp eyes. "Why aren't you preparing like the rest of us?" she asked. "Don't you want to have some power to fight with?" Alex looked up calmly. "I have what I need," he said simply. "I don't need to show off. I need to survive." She tilted her head, confused. "Survive? You don't even have armor. You don't even have proper weapons." Alex smiled faintly. "I have a mind. Sometimes that's enough." Kira snorted softly. "A mind won't stop a predator from killing you. Not here." Alex went back to his notes, ignoring her. Words and whispers could not hurt him. Only the predator, and only if he failed to plan, could threaten him. As the briefing ended, students began moving toward the arena. The excitement was electric. Weapons hummed, tails and claws flexed, and alien eyes gleamed with anticipation. Alex stood, slinging his small bag over his shoulder. He walked steadily, his eyes still observing, calculating. The others laughed and boasted, ready to rush headlong into the trial. Alex moved slowly, deliberately. He didn't need to rush. Speed and power were not everything. Intelligence, careful planning, and adaptability had carried him through worse situations than any alien predator could create. Finn's voice followed him as he left the room, dripping with disbelief. "You won't last 10 minutes. You'll see." Alex smiled faintly again, more to himself than to Finn. He had survived Deathworlds far more dangerous than this. He had learned to outthink predators that were faster, stronger, and smarter than humans should ever be. He would survive this too. And as he stepped into the sunlight of the arena once more, he felt the familiar thrill of a challenge, the kind only humans seem to find irresistible. The impossible wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity. The arena doors opened with a long hiss, and a rush of wind swept through the space. Dust and leaves swirled around, carrying unfamiliar scents. Alex stepped forward slowly, eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. The other students rushed ahead, eager to take the first advantage, showing confidence in weapons, claws, and powers. Alex stayed calm, letting them move first. A low growl echoed through the arena. It was deep, resonant, and made the ground vibrate slightly. The sound carried a sense of intelligence, a warning that this was no ordinary predator. From the shadows, a massive shape moved, its outline almost blending with the rocks and trees. The predator was enormous, its limbs long and powerful, muscles coiled like springs ready to strike. Its skin seemed to shift, changing colors to match the environment. Its eyes glowed faintly with an intelligence that made Alex's skin tingle, but not with fear. He had expected this. He had studied every description in his notebook, memorized the predator's behavior, and mentally prepared for its speed and cunning. The predator moved like liquid, silent and deliberate. One of the airborne students, Kira, who relied on agility and speed, swooped down toward a small cluster of rocks. In a blur, the predator leapt, faster than anyone expected. Kira screamed as the predator's tail knocked her off balance, sending her crashing into the rocks. Sparks flew from the tips of her energy threads as they collided with stone. Alex ducked instinctively, rolling to the side to avoid debris. Lily charged forward next, her blades humming with energy. She aimed carefully at the predator, which had already adapted to her movements, predicting her strike. With a swift movement, it sidestepped, using her own momentum to trip her. She landed hard, blades clattering, and the predator vanished again into the shadows. Tom, relying on his massive strength, attempted a direct attack, swinging his fists with enough force to crush stone. The predator met his strike, but instead of being stopped, it twisted his arm, making him stumble and crash into a nearby boulder. Dust rose in a cloud and he struggled to stand. Alex watched carefully, noting how the predator adjusted to each attack almost instantly. Zara and Finn stood near the edge of a ridge, wide-eyed. "How is he surviving?" Zara whispered, her wings quivering slightly. Finn's jaw tightened. "He's doing something different. Something we didn't expect." Alex moved quietly, keeping to shadows and using the terrain to his advantage. He didn't rush. Every step was calculated. He pulled a small cord from his bag and set a simple snare between two rocks. The predator's attention was elsewhere, focused on a group of larger aliens who had underestimated it. As it lunged toward them, the snare caught one of its limbs briefly, giving Alex a fraction of a second. That fraction of a second was all he needed. He darted forward, kicking a small rock to create noise in a different direction. The predator's head snapped toward the sound, its instincts drawn toward movement. Alex used the distraction to slip behind a cluster of thorny bushes. He could hear the predator growl in irritation. It was learning, adapting, but Alex had anticipated its adaptations. The arena was a chaotic storm. Dust rose, branches snapped, and alien cries echoed as the predator struck with precision and speed. Students who relied purely on strength or powers were quickly eliminated or forced to retreat. Alex observed everything, learning its rhythm, predicting its reactions. Each alien who fell was a warning, a lesson he could use. He noticed the predator beginning to anticipate the predictable attacks. That meant he had to be unpredictable. Using his knowledge of the terrain, he kicked small pebbles down a narrow slope. The sound drew the predator momentarily, and he slipped through a hidden path he had identified earlier. He used low shadows and small depressions in the ground to remain hidden, moving silently. Zara whispered again to Finn. He's turning its strength against itself. Every move he makes is thoughtful, precise. He isn't just surviving, he's controlling the hunt." Finn's tail twitched. "It doesn't make sense. Humans shouldn't think like this. They're too small, too weak. And yet, he's alive while the rest fall." Alex crouched behind a large rock, watching the predator circle. He understood one thing clearly: the predator was fast and clever, but it had patterns. Nothing, not even the smartest creature, could act without some rhythm. He studied its movements, its pauses, the way it shifted weight, the moments it hesitated. Then he acted. He set another trap, this one simple, just a weighted vine stretched across a narrow pathway. The predator approached, calculating its move, and then stepped on the trap. A small net lifted briefly, slowing it down just enough for Alex to sprint past a dangerous corridor. The predator shook free quickly, but Alex had gained ground, had gained time. The predator roared in frustration, a sound that made the ground quake. Dust fell from overhead cliffs. Alex felt adrenaline, but it was controlled. He didn't panic. He couldn't panic. Panic would get him killed faster than the predator ever could. He noticed another alien student, small and nimble, trying to flank the predator from above. They leaped onto a rock ledge thinking they could attack from height. The predator adapted instantly, leaping up to the ledge with incredible speed. The student barely managed to roll away. Alex noted every movement, every reaction. Each failure of others was an example he could learn from. The arena was no longer just a challenge. It was a school of lessons, and Alex was the only one paying full attention. While others relied on strength, speed, or flashy powers, he relied on observation, anticipation, and clever tricks. He ducked behind rocks, pulled small vines, kicked loose stones to distract, and used shadows to hide his presence. At one point, the predator focused on Alex directly. Its glowing eyes locked onto him, its head tilting in curiosity. It moved faster now, testing him, striking at areas he might appear from. Alex barely dodged a swipe of its claw, rolling behind a low boulder. He didn't panic. He had predicted this. He had already prepared another distraction. He grabbed a small stick and tossed it into a patch of dry leaves. The noise and rustle drew the predator, and it lunged at the false target. Alex slipped to the side and set another small snare on a nearby path. The predator paused mid-attack, entangled for a second, and he moved past silently. Zara and Finn continued watching from a safe distance. "I can't believe it," Zara whispered. "He's outsmarting it. He's surviving when no one else even comes close." Finn clenched his fists. This shouldn't be possible. A human shouldn't last more than a few minutes. And yet, look at him. Calm, careful, thinking ahead. He's alive while the rest are falling. Alex moved through the arena like a shadow, each step deliberate, each action carefully measured. He didn't rush. He didn't make mistakes. Every trap, every distraction, every dodge was part of a larger plan. He had not come here to fight with brute force. He had come to survive by thinking faster, moving smarter, and predicting what no one else would see. The predator, despite its intelligence, had never encountered such patience. Every alien student it had faced relied on instinct or power. Alex relied on calculation. The predator adjusted, adapted, but Alex had prepared for adaptation. Each clever trick slowed it, wasted its energy, and bought him precious seconds. By mid-arena, Alex had already seen most of the other students fall. Some had been caught in ambushes, some trapped by the predator, and some had panicked. Only a few remained, equally careful, equally skilled, but none matched the calm focus of the human Deathworlder. Alex paused on a small ridge, looking down at the predator as it moved below. He could see the pattern now, the rhythm. It was a dangerous game, but he was no stranger to dangerous games. On his homeworld, every day was survival, every day was a test. This predator, for all its strength, was just another challenge. He spotted another path, narrow and winding, that could give him an advantage. He set a small distraction, a rolling stone, and moved quickly along the path. The predator lunged at the noise, but Alex was already gone. Each step was careful, each action precise. He was turning its strength against itself, using its speed and intelligence as a tool rather than a threat. Zara could hardly breathe as she watched. He's controlling it. Every move he makes is smart, deliberate. He's alive because he's smarter than it. Finn didn't speak. He could only watch, amazed and frustrated. The human, the small, weak-looking human, was alive when nearly everyone else had fallen. Alex crouched again, hidden in shadow, breathing slowly. He wasn't tired. He was alert, focused. The predator was clever, adaptive, dangerous, but Alex was ready. He had survived worse. He had learned to think, to plan, and to adapt. And in that moment he felt a small thrill. This was what humans did best. Others relied on raw power or special abilities. Humans survived by outthinking, outplanning, and using every small advantage. He smiled faintly, knowing that every step, every trap, every distraction was a victory in itself. The predator roared again, frustrated by its inability to predict this human. Alex stayed calm, moving silently, always watching, always calculating. The arena had changed from a test of brute strength into a game of wits, and Alex was playing it better than anyone else. Alex moved carefully through the rocky corridor of the arena, keeping low and watching the predator. Its glowing eyes scanned the area, muscles coiled like springs, every movement fluid and fast. He had studied its patterns since entering the arena. He knew it relied on speed, prediction, and instinct. And he knew he could turn all three against it. Ahead of him was a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for a human to slip through. Alex crouched behind a rock, watching as the predator moved closer. Its steps were silent, but the vibrations of the ground betrayed it. He set a small snare across the tunnel entrance, using thin cord he had carried in his bag. Then he threw a handful of pebbles down a side path to make noise. The predator's head snapped toward the sound and it took the bait, stepping into the tunnel. The tunnel shivered as rocks loosened under the predator's weight. Alex had noted weak spots in the structure earlier. Carefully he pushed a small boulder with his foot. A section of the tunnel ceiling cracked and collapsed partially behind the predator, blocking its path. Dust filled the air and the predator roared in frustration. Alex remained hidden in the shadows, breathing slowly, letting the predator waste energy while he stayed safe. From a distance, Finn, Lily, and Kira watched in shock. They had expected the predator to dominate as it always did. But here it paused, confused, unsure of its next move. How is he doing this? Lily whispered, her green tendrils quivering with disbelief. Kira shook her head. No one has ever outsmarted the trial like this. It should have caught him by now. Finn's scale jaw tightened. He's thinking faster than the predator itself. This shouldn't be possible. Alex moved carefully along the side of the tunnel, slipping into the shadows. He used every dark crevice, every nook, every shadow to stay out of sight. He didn't attack the predator directly. That would have been dangerous. Instead, he created distractions, setting traps that forced the predator to waste energy, misstep, or hesitate. Each small move was a test, a way to learn its reactions. He noticed a thin ledge above the tunnel. With careful balance, he climbed and threw small stones to make noise. The predator followed the sound, pausing briefly in the tunnel. Alex used that pause to slip past another danger zone, another collapsing section he had noticed earlier. The predator's roars echoed through the arena, frustrated and confused. It had never faced prey like this before. Most students rushed headlong, relying on strength, speed, or powers. They fell quickly. But Alex moved differently. He observed, predicted, and adapted. His moves were quiet, precise, and calculated. Lily whispered again, her voice barely audible. He's controlling it. Every move the predator makes, it's because of him. He's leading it. Kira shook her head in disbelief. I can't believe it. The human is smart enough to outthink the predator itself. Alex reached a small cliff edge, overlooking a shallow ravine. He could see the predator moving below, its glowing eyes scanning for him. He threw a handful of sand into the air, the dust swirling in the sunlight. The predator paused, confused by the shifting shapes and shadows. Alex used the moment to slip along a narrow ridge, careful not to make a sound. He remembered lessons from his homeworld. On Deathworlds, every predator had a rhythm, every movement a pattern. Even the fastest, strongest hunters had weaknesses. The trick was to observe, to study, and to wait for the perfect moment to act. That was what humans did best. Think faster than instinct, adapt faster than the hunter. The predator moved again, shifting back and forth, trying to detect him. Its claws scraped against the rocks, sending small sparks into the shadows. Alex stayed low, moving quietly, using a narrow crevice as cover. He set another simple trap, a weighted vine across a narrow path that the predator would need to pass. As expected, it stepped into the trap. The vine caught its leg briefly, slowing it for just enough time. Alex darted past another corridor, setting a small stone to roll in a different direction. The predator's head turned, following the sound, giving him space to move safely. From above, Finn and Lily could hardly believe their eyes. No one has ever done this before, Finn whispered. He's turning the predator against itself. Alex crouched behind another boulder, observing the arena carefully. He noticed a narrow tunnel leading to a small cave. If he could lure the predator inside, he could use the confined space to control its movements. He threw a few small stones into the tunnel, creating a faint sound. The predator followed, muscles coiling as it entered. Alex waited, hidden in a dark crevice near the tunnel entrance. The predator moved cautiously, unsure of what awaited. Alex triggered a small snare he had set moments earlier, catching its foot and causing it to stumble slightly. It roared again, frustrated, but it was learning, reacting slowly, confused. He smiled faintly. This was the first time he had seen hesitation in the predator. Even the smartest, fastest students had never caused it to pause. But Alex had. Observation, clever traps, and careful planning had made the difference. The predator moved again, cautiously this time, testing the environment. Alex used the shadows to move silently, planting small distractions along its path. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. Each small action was precise, calculated to confuse and mislead. Lily whispered, unable to contain her shock. He's actually outsmarting it? No one else could do this. Kira's jaw dropped. A human is making the predator hesitate. This is impossible. Alex moved quietly along the side of the cave, using every shadow, every rock, every dip in the ground to his advantage. He remembered the predator's adaptations, anticipating its next moves. He didn't just react, he predicted. Each trap, each diversion, each subtle noise forced the predator to reconsider, waste energy and hesitate. The predator roared, frustrated by its inability to attack directly. It had never been made to pause, to question, to adapt to prey that moved smarter than it did. Alex stayed calm, observing every reaction, noting every detail, adjusting his plan. Finn, Lily, and Kira watched silently, mouths open, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The human had done something no alien had ever done. He had forced the predator to hesitate, to think, to pause. Alex crouched in the shadows, breathing slowly, remaining hidden. He could see the predator below, scanning, confused by the patterns he had created. He was ready for the next move, ready to adapt again. His mind raced faster than any weapon, faster than instinct. The predator had met its first challenge it could not predict. A small thrill ran through him. This was what humans did best. Others relied on speed, strength, or powers. Humans survived by thinking, planning, and using every small advantage. He had not faced this predator with brute force, but with patience, observation, and cleverness. And it worked. The predator roared again, frustrated, and Alex remained calm, hidden in the shadows. He had forced the first hesitation, the first confusion. And he knew that each small step, each clever trap, and each quiet movement brought him closer to victory. The arena had shifted from a test of strength into a game of wits. And Alex, the human Deathworlder, was winning. Alex stepped out of the shadows of the arena, his boots crunching softly on the dusty ground. The air smelled of dust, sweat, and the faint metallic scent of the rocks and cliffs. The wind carried echoes of roars and shouts from the predator and the surviving alien students. He adjusted the strap of his small bag, keeping it close to his side, and wiped a thin layer of dust from his sleeve. There was no blood on his clothes. No scratches. Not a single mark showed that he had faced a creature designed to kill the best students in the academy. For a moment, silence reigned over the arena. The predator had retreated back into the shadows, cautious and confused, unable to predict the human who had bested it. Around Alex, the alien students stared, their wide eyes fixed on him. Some had fallen during the trial. Some had survived but barely. None had expected what they saw. Zara stood frozen near the edge of a rocky ridge. Her wings twitched in disbelief. I didn't think it was possible, she whispered. Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear but with astonishment. Her hands gripped the railing in front of her as if holding on would steady her racing thoughts. She had watched him move, watched him think, and had seen a human succeed where many of the galaxy's strongest and smartest students had failed. Finn's jaw tightened and his tail flicked nervously. He had been so sure that Alex would fail. He had watched humans all his life and assumed they were weak, fragile, incapable of surviving even the simplest challenges without advanced tools or protections. And yet here he was, standing in the open, completely unharmed. His calm smile suggested that he had expected this outcome all along, even if no one else had. Lily stepped closer, her long green tendrils curling around her arms as she studied him. Her eyes widened. He actually did it. He survived without any of our weapons. He outsmarted the predator. Her voice was low, filled with a mixture of awe and disbelief. No alien has ever done this. Kira, hovering slightly above the ground, finally spoke. It wasn't power. It wasn't speed. He didn't rely on energy weapons or claws or strength. He just thought. And he survived. Her fingers flexed nervously as she absorbed the reality of what had happened. She had assumed he would be one of the first to fall. She had laughed when he walked in with only a notebook and a few simple tools. And yet, here he was, the human who had won. Alex looked around slowly, taking in the shocked faces of the students. He saw fear, disbelief, admiration, and even a hint of jealousy. He had expected doubt. He had expected ridicule. But respect? Respect was a new feeling in this room, one he had rarely seen from others outside his own homeworld. Yet he did not allow pride to take hold. He remained calm, his smile simple and unassuming. He had survived because he had to. Nothing more. He walked forward through the arena, each step measured, never rushing. Dust rose beneath his boots. Every student he passed glanced at him, unable to hide their astonishment. Even the instructors, towering and formidable, gave small nods of acknowledgement. They rarely gave praise, and it was clear this was earned. Alex paused near a low boulder, catching his breath for a moment. He had not been pushed to exhaustion. He had not rushed recklessly. The predator had been clever, fast, adaptive, but he had been faster, smarter, and more careful. Every step, every trap, every distraction he had set had worked in his favor. Each time the predator reacted, it revealed a weakness, a pattern, and he had used that knowledge immediately. From a distance, Finn muttered under his breath, "I can't believe it. I thought humans were weak. But he's different. He's something else." Zara shook her head slowly. "We underestimated him. We thought humans couldn't survive here. And yet, he didn't just survive, he outsmarted the predator." Alex continued walking, his eyes sweeping the arena. He noticed some of the surviving students limping, bruised or shaken. They had relied on power and instinct, and it had nearly cost them their lives. Alex understood instinct, of course, but instinct alone was never enough. On his homeworld, instinct could kill you. Observation, planning, and clever thinking were far more reliable. He glanced at a small pile of rocks and debris, evidence of the traps he had set during the trial. Simple tools, simple actions, but effective. He had not needed the advanced weapons the aliens carried. He had used only his mind, his knowledge of terrain, and his understanding of predator behavior. Lily stepped forward, cautiously, her tendrils still curled around her arms. How did you do it?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, almost fearful, as if asking the question aloud might undo the miracle she had witnessed. "You had nothing compared to the rest of us. No strength, no energy weapons, no special powers. Just, what?" Alex shrugged slightly. "I observed. I waited. I adapted. I didn't try to fight it directly. I let it make mistakes, and I used those mistakes to survive. That's all." Kira shook her head. "All of this, just observation and planning?" she asked. "It sounds impossible. It shouldn't work. And yet it did. You think faster than anything else in this arena. Faster than the predator. Faster than any of us." Alex smiled faintly again. "Sometimes thinking is stronger than claws or wings or powers," he said. "You just have to stay calm, watch, and wait for the right moment." Zara's eyes softened as she studied him. I don't think we will ever see this again," she admitted. "No alien has ever survived like this. And now, humans? We underestimated them all along." Finn looked away, shaking his head. "We did," he muttered. "We all did. And he showed us how wrong we were." Alex didn't respond. He didn't need to. The lesson was clear. Humans were often underestimated. They appeared small, fragile, and weak, but they had something many others lacked: resilience, cleverness, and the ability to think beyond instinct. They survived because they could adapt, improvise, and use the smallest advantage in the deadliest situations. He continued walking through the arena, his eyes scanning the rocks and shadows as if already planning the next move. Even though the trial was over, he understood that survival required constant awareness. The predator was gone, but challenges would come again. And when they did, he would be ready. Some of the alien students began to approach him cautiously, respect replacing fear. They did not speak at first, only observing. Then Lily stepped forward, her tendrils relaxing. I want to learn from you," she said quietly. "You didn't just survive. You outsmarted the predator itself." Alex nodded. "It's not about learning tricks or weapons," he said. "It's about understanding your environment, watching carefully, and thinking ahead. Anyone can do it if they focus and adapt." Kira hovered closer. "Do you really think that's enough?" she asked. "No powers, no energy weapons, just your mind?" Alex smiled faintly. "It's enough if you use it right," he said. "Strength can fail. Speed can fail. Instinct can fail. But careful thought and patience rarely do." The instructors approached, their massive forms moving silently. One of them, tall and covered in dark chitin, nodded slowly. "You have proven something remarkable," it said, its deep voice resonating through the arena. A human has passed the Predator assignment where many of the strongest aliens have failed. You have earned respect, not through power but through intelligence, observation, and determination. Alex inclined his head slightly. He did not need praise. Survival was reward enough. But the acknowledgement of the instructors, combined with the shock on the faces of every alien student, sent a small thrill through him. They had doubted humans. They had laughed at him. And now they would not forget. Zara whispered one last time, almost to herself, "We judged him too quickly. Humans, they are not what we thought. They are something else." Alex looked toward the horizon, the sun casting long shadows across the arena. He felt calm, steady, and ready. Today had proven one thing: humans survived where others failed, not because they were stronger, faster, or more powerful, but because they were clever, resilient, and determined. That combination made them a force to be reckoned with. And as the aliens continued to stare, stunned into silence, Alex walked toward the exit of the arena, unscathed, unhurried, and smiling faintly. On this day humans had earned respect. And he, a simple Deathworlder, had shown that even the smallest, seemingly weakest beings could triumph over the impossible.